Hello and welcome back to another episode of Mass Transit. As you can see, we're just waiting the last few seconds for our alarm to tick down so that we can get a science report from the scientists here at the Kerbal Space Center? Kerbal Space Program. That's the name of the game. Um, yep, we can close that. And let's see if we got a report. Have our one from last time, and we do have something new. Following report is the moon's surface sample. Its color is green, smells like kiwi, and tastes like kiwi. Don't know if I should trust these guys' experimentation methods. What are these notes? It hums. They made me a detector and a drill. If you want to read that, you can. I'm just kind of summing through it quickly, even though there's not a whole lot there. But ultimately, what they told me before I actually got that report is they want more and larger samples of this stuff. So since they gave us a couple components, let me see if I can build something that'll let us plan a mission to go get a larger sample of this stuff. Okay, so as you can see, we have a probe on top here with a survey unit and plenty of solar panels. And this is going to detach once we get into orbit around the moon, and then our lander half is going to descend and land using the drills to mine some of our cathane, which we do have a storage container for. So let me just make sure that is indeed storing something. Okay, it's not a modular fuel tank. We're just making sure. Like this one down here doesn't store anything. Normally you have to tell it to. So, see you guys on the runway and we can launch. So we have found ourselves out here on the runway, and we're going to throttle up and take off. For the most part, it's just a standard launch. Well, except for we're launching from the runway. That indeed is a little bit different, but shouldn't have too much effect on our overall progress. Since we are using probe cores, I've added plenty of the reaction control system, the wheels, reaction control wheels, not RCS, so that I can control my vessel a bit easier, since the probes don't provide a whole lot of control themselves. Now we are getting right up there, and we need to start turning, and it looks like we're going to flip. So, well, this launch might be more interesting than I thought initially. And we've stabilized, thanks to the thrust vectoring. And now it's just a normal ascent as usual. And if you notice it's a little bit brighter, that's because I did get the ambient light adjustment mod. And of course that gives you ambient light so you can make things brighter or standard. And right-clicking just resets it to its kind of normal setting, its default, when you install it. To talk about a couple things while this is launching and we're getting into orbit, I never planned for this series to die. I know it's been like 5 weeks or 6 weeks since I uploaded a video about this particular world, and I never meant for it to take that long to get a video out. It's just what happened was I got really busy with college in finals week, so I hadn't had time to do any videos or actually play the game a whole lot. And then after I finished all my finals, I just wasn't feeling the ambition to really play this game. I still felt like doing spotlights because that's kind of like teaching how to use mods, but actually playing the game, I didn't really feel like it for a little bit. But now I am back, and I will probably be doing these regularly. I can't necessarily promise anything, but for the most part, you should see them a lot more often than 5 weeks. Probably going to hope for at least one of these particular mass transit series once a week, along with spotlights and such. Also, something I do want to talk about here is regarding spotlights. A bunch of the little utility ones. I'm thinking about doing a utility spotlight, and I'm wondering if that would be a good idea. Like ambient light adjustment, it's literally this easy. There's not a whole lot to it. meaning it can't really have its own spotlight unless that was like 30 seconds. Me going, hey, this is this mod, this is by the guy, this is how you use it. And it'd be about 30 seconds. But if I tie this one with, let's say, stack reinforcement, I don't, docking port alignment, I guess, just some of the smaller, lighter weight plugins, just kind of put them all together in one video that's maybe 10 to 15 minutes long. Just kind of what your thoughts on that would be, because there are a lot of lightweight mods that I do use, and they just don't really, they're not big enough for their own video, because that would only be 2 or 3 minutes, and I don't see that as being too worthwhile. But we're just working on an encounter. One of the features I do really like about 235 is you can use the mouse wheel to just do the smallest adjustments on your maneuver nodes, meaning you can get exactly how you want them to set up. Like, I want that just under 50 for the probe, and I can just click back a couple times on the mouse wheel, and there we go. Nice fine adjustment. So let's bring this up. Oh yeah, we have not quite enough delta V to finish this burn, but we have more than enough in the rest of our engines. So that burn is in 15 minutes. Get that aligned. And what's really nice about the ambient light adjustment mod, which we're going to be seeing because we're going over the dark side, and probably going to be burning, yeah, we will be burning on the dark side of Kerbal. What it lets you do is, this isn't necessarily, but there, if you slide it all the way up, you can see everything just fine. Now it makes this look a little strange with how the light bounces off of it, but it's a lot better than seeing this. Yes, I'm docking. You can see me dock. Well, if you have this, then just slide it up, and you actually can. It makes it a lot easier, especially for recording. Actually, I'm going to leave that up. So, we're just going through until we get to our node and burning to see the moon. Of course, we want to give ourselves a little bit extra time because we are going to have to stage and finish the burn. Now, I also wanted to go to Minmus, and Minmus is almost in range for a maneuver, or the fastest maneuver, so I don't have to supply a lot of food. Because I want to take a couple Kerbins there to take crew data, crew reports, and EVA reports. So I want to take some crew to Minmus, and it's almost in range, but when it's not in range it takes something like 20 days to get to, and I just don't want to pack that much food. I want it to be a quick, concise mission. So Periaps is at 48,000, that should be just fine. Or actually, I think I overshot a little bit. Let's correct this maneuver node. With the periapsis, 48, there we go. And one thing that I need to get in the habit of doing is just adding quick alarms like that, because typically when I time accelerate more often than I probably should, I end up completely flying through the moon, and that's not very good. However, using this, it will stop me just before sphere of influence change. And I can just say delete, close, and it's all good. So we've got a nice, clear, concise encounter, and I've sped this up a little bit because old me was talking about some completely inaccurate facts about polar orbits, and we'll try to rediscuss those in a little bit. Anyhow, we do attempt to get a polar orbit with our vessel because they are so much more efficient. So we're planning our maneuver and we'll be burning shortly. So, back to old me. Okay, so we have a maneuver, and we're just going to burn, the further away from the planet, meaning the less gravity is really holding on to us. So it's a lot easier to actually do this plane change burn, which will get us in a polar orbit, because in a polar orbit we will be going always around the moon, and the moon will rotate under us, so we'll theoretically hit every single point on the moon for scanning for Kethane. And we just want to set this up at about 45 kilometers, and don't need that node anymore. Now we just have to wait for that, which will take 4 hours. However, our other vessel might be reaching its periapsis first, and it definitely will, so we'll switch to it. And we don't need that so bright anymore. Does this one have its solar panels that are gonna activate? Or are they bound oddly too? Nope, all 4 of them appear to be working. There we go. Lots of solar power for this one because we need it when we start mining. Now we just need to wait to hit our periapsis so we can start slowing our burn. So we are at our periapsis, and it's time to get captured by the moon. Throttle up. Now this half of our vessel does not have the engineering, so landing is going to be a bit trickier than usual. Usually I have that up and it helps me determine the time of landing, but this time I do not have it, and we're just going to get everything captured, and then I'm going to scan a little bit for some Kethane, which case you probably don't want to see because I'm just going to have this probe orbit until I find a place that I can land at. A decent enough place that I can land at. I don't want to waste too much time. This mission's already coming on 2 Kerbal days, which are 6 hours each, I believe. But Minmus is going to be in position soon, and we do not want to miss this opportunity, otherwise we'll have to wait another week or so. As you can hear the obnoxious beeping, that is the Kethane scanner working. At our periapsis, so we just need to capture entirely, and this time we do have this, so we can set everything below 50. With the help of the flight engineer, I am able to get my apoapsis and periapsis pretty close to 50 kilometers, and the obnoxious beeping you hear is indeed the Kethane scanner. I'm going to be doing a bit more scanning, and we will be back on our next vessel. Something appears wrong with this, as though it's tilted. This is probably going to end badly unless I can get out of this first stage rather quickly. Anyway, I was so excited about scanning for Kethane that I almost forgot about the Minmus window. So what we're launching now is a vessel that will hopefully take us to Minmus if it doesn't break on the way. Looks like it's already started breaking, unfortunately. Hopefully we can get this to space. We don't necessarily have infinite funds, and I don't think the people at the Kerbal Space Center are going to be too happy if we crash one of their vessels. Now, I'm almost certain that Jebadiah would be able to get out safely because he has plenty of parachutes on his craft, and it can disconnect quite easily, but this is still a lot of equipment that go to waste. Definitely wasting a lot of fuel just trying to get into orbit, and I am not even in the right orbit. I need to change up the direction I'm heading, try to get in the proper orbit, try to still have enough fuel to get to Minmus and back. Vessel definitely is being difficult to control. It didn't break my main engine, that's good. And we're finally heading in the right direction. So this has been an interesting launch. Let's see if we can still manage to get up with enough fuel to get to Minmus. Now, it's definitely not going to take a lot of fuel to get back to Minmus, and I'm probably going to be able to get a free return anyway. But we still need enough to get there and make sure we get there quickly enough so that Jebadiah doesn't starve. I did pack him about 30 days worth of food plus the 1 day in his standard capsule, so he should have plenty of food if we are a little late getting to Minmus. But as long as he doesn't starve, it should be fine. We're just doing a flyby, and we have 2 of each science object that we currently have unlocked, so that we can get all of the science possible at our current stage in career mode. And since this stage actually has more thrust, I'm going to need to shut off the engines because that burst thrust has actually ripped these off when I was making sure that these actually worked without overheating instantly or just not providing thrust. Because I kind of like having these 8 smaller thin engines there because they're a little bit more efficient than something big, and I can still stick a big fuel tank on. And of course the last 2 engines, since they're going to be pushing the least amount of mass, have a lot more delta V than this stage actually has, just because of the mass differences. Half the time when you're building a rocket, the only reason you need more fuel is because... Why is it turning so strangely? Anyway, not to get too distracted, typically when you're building a big rocket, the only reason you need so much fuel is because you have so much fuel. Like, one of the biggest problems is just the sheer weight of the fuel itself. So the craft just wants to rotate to the left, and I'm not sure why. I mean, this thing's balanced, but it looks like it's tilted. Just get up into space. There we go. How much delta V? We have way more than enough. We still have 1200. That's more than enough to get to Minmus. Close this out. As it turns out, I have indeed missed the Minmus window, so I'm going to have to do some fancy maneuvering to get to Minmus on time, even though I did pack extra snacks for Jebadiah. But I just play around with the maneuver nodes and realize that the days, which are 18 days to get to Minmus, is actually in Kerbal days, which only accommodate for 6 hours. So it's only really like 4.5 days of the TAC life support mod. So mostly what is happening here is me just complaining about how hard it is to control this vessel. For some reason the stage appears to have bent, I guess, as you saw during the launch, and that's making it almost impossible to actually control the vessel. Anyhow, I do get the maneuver node finally set up correctly, and I await my burn until the point in which case I do start burning toward Minmus. We do need to be going to Minmus, as it is the next stage in our science adventure, so that we can finally get to Duna, which has tons of very valuable resources like iron. And when we can start mining iron, we can start getting into extraplanetary launch pads, because I've set it up so Duna is the only place I can get iron. That way it's not unfair, and I cannot ship rocket parts from Kerbal into space stations, because I do want to try to make it a little bit more fair, because that is quite overpowered, being able to launch a craft directly into space without having to actually lift it off of Kerbal. So let's get back to old me. Okay, so I went along with Jebadiah here in his craft a little bit. Unfortunately, my recorder didn't actually record the last little bit for some reason. Anyhow, what I did is I edited this orbit a little bit. Instead of it meeting up around this point, I edited it so the orbit would meet up in 9 days, or 8 days, almost 9 days, instead of meeting up in 18 days. This way we save the time of convenience. It's not necessarily required that we needed to save on food, because we have over 30 days worth of food, but it still does save us in time, and it sets us up for an almost perfect free return that we just need to burn a little bit of fuel to when we get to Minmus to make that a capture orbit. So this is Jebadiah's vessel. Just edited a couple things, got rid of that other stage because I could not do this maneuver with how it was rotating me, so I dumped about 100 meters per second delta V. Nothing that is going to matter, since I still have almost 2,000, and I don't need to burn, I may need to burn maybe 100 more delta V to get myself back to Kerbal. So Jebadiah's got a lot more convenience here, and he'll be in Minmus in a little bit. I also set up a new alarm for the 8 days, not hours, and we should be set. Now, as for the landing this would be easier if I go to the Space Center. As for landing the other vessel, I did land it, and, well, a problem occurred. First off, I thought it was the beautiful light of day due to the ambient light adjustment mod that I had been using, and I was wondering why I wasn't receiving any power. So I believe this is the one I need. It is. Well, I did not account for something, which is going to lead us to needing to solve this problem in the next episode. What I forgot to account for was to actually turn this up so we can see. That is my favorite mod for recording, definitely. We deployed our drills from Kethane, which allows you to add a lot of resources, and I'm going to be adding a lot of custom ones, which I believe I said in the first part of this. It's been a little while, just recapping. Anyhow, what happened was I didn't account for the extra mass of having 1,000 liters of Kethane, so our fuel tanks are dry. We have no fuel left, and the sun is blocked by some planet. Looks like it's bright because ambient light adjustment. Anyhow, turn that back up so we can see. I need to find a way to get this thing more fuel. Now, I didn't pack a converter because, well, we don't have them yet. We need to analyze this sample, this 1,000 liters, for our Kerbals to figure out what else we can do, like convert it, maybe eat it for food. Since we do have a pretty good simulated intelligence on this guidance system, we might be able to have it reroute the Kethane and burn it in the engines instead of liquid fuel. Or we did manage to have a docking node out of luck. I did not expect this to happen, but we have a docking node, so I suppose we could get something to tug this or dock with it and take the Kethane out. I'm not sure what we're going to do yet, but that will be in the next episode. So, this is PTTGRW. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. I'm also really sorry about not being able to show the landing. I will do my best to make sure that never happens again.